Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna
Okay, Ishan Prabhu, we're
Hare
live now on YouTube also. So feel free to
Krishna.
go ahead and start as you wish, when you wish.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Maha Badanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratashe Namaha Namo Brahmanaya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitayacha Jagadhitai Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Vrindaya Tulsi Devi Priyaya Keshavasya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satyabhajai Namo Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Swarup Damodar Ki Jai
Jai,
Haridas Thakur Ki Jai
Jai,
Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuya Sri Jiva Palako the six Goswamis of Vrindavan Ki Jai
Jai,
yeah. Jagannath Das Babaji Ki Jai
Jai,
and then Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai
Jai,
Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Ki Jai Srila
Jai,
Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Ki Jai Srila
Jai,
Prabhupada Ki Jai
Jai.
Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I would like to broach a topic today.
Just one thing, sorry, Rasika Prabhu, Rasika Chaitanya, if you're there and you want to switch your video, please feel free, and Ishan Prabhu prefers video on.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
This is Rasika Chaitanya Prabhu. He's in Jaipur, a very wonderful devotee.
Hare Krishna. So what we're speaking, we're talking about this word. There's a very special word that everyone's talking about. It says, Prabhupadanuga. What does this mean, Prabhupadanuga? What is this meaning, Prabhupadanuga? Well, when I was a little boy, we didn't know anything about Krishna. Actually, we didn't know anything about religion. I lived in the home of atheists, people who were against religion, but I was a little boy. I'm still a little boy, but I'm trying to grow up a little bit. So we had, there were different kinds of sports that people would attend. They have a great American sport they call baseball, and there was one club, New York Yankees, very big baseball team, and there was one very, very famous baseball player. His name was Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth, he was already very advanced in age, but he could hit a home run. He could hardly, when he would hit that ball, it would go right out of the park, and all the fans would get up and they would cheer very powerfully for Babe Ruth. And he couldn't run around the bases. He would walk, and then he would come home. He couldn't do all the things that the other baseball players could do, but he could hit that ball. So he was very much, the fans loved him very much. The Srila Prabhupada, he used to say things. He's still saying things, but we have to be able to hear. He would talk about, he only wanted one moon. He said, there are so many, you can have millions of stars in the sky, but if there's one moon, it lights up the whole landscape. So he was saying he had so many students, but he wasn't looking for so many stars. He was looking for one moon. Somebody who could hit that home run. Our home run is back to home, back to Godhead. When Babe Ruth would hit that ball, he would run around the bases, and then he would arrive again at home plate. In our Krishna consciousness and spiritual life, Srila Prabhupada wanted one person who could arrive at the home plate, score a goal, make a home run. So when Srila Prabhupada, we have pictures of Srila Prabhupada, and he's admiring his Bhagavad Gita. It's coming from the printer, from the press. And he's so happy and Srila Prabhupada, he created an army, just like Lord Ramchandra. He had an army of monkeys. Srila Prabhupada sometimes referred to his students as dancing white monkeys. Yeah. We could run up and down the floor and jump and dance. His dancing white monkeys. And so he created a great army for distributing this Bhagavad Gita all over the world. All over that. Hundreds and thousands, even perhaps millions of Bhagavad Gitas, as it is, the real Bhagavad Gita, have been distributed by Srila Prabhupada's army of dancing white monkeys. And if we go to Srila Prabhupada's preface, he's explaining in the last sentence or two of his preface to Bhagavad that we've distributed so many millions of books. He said, but if from all of this great distribution, if one person actually becomes a real devotee, if one person becomes a pure devotee, he will consider the whole effort, the whole ISKCON, the whole business, the whole army of devotees, the whole army of dancing white monkeys. He will consider, of course, now we have monkeys all over the world chanting Hare Krishna. But if one becomes a real devotee, a pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada writes this in his book. he'll consider the whole effort a success. So when you go to the baseball game, there may be the baseball stadium. It may hold, I don't know, 10,000, 20,000 fans. And they're all cheering for their favorite team. And when Babe Ruth would hit a home run, they would all stand up and cheer and shout. And they would consider themselves, the team was the New York Yankees. They're members they consider them, this is my team. This is my team, and I'm a Yankee fan. So we have different teams today in Krishna consciousness. There's the ISKCON team. There's the Prabhupadanuga team. There are other teams as well. Flying under different banners. Different teams. So what is it? Are they who but only one man on the baseball team is able to hit that home run. Srila Prabhupada is looking for that one man. What does the Prabhupadanuga mean? We have Vaidhi Bhakti, the first stage. Vaidhi Bhakti is our first stage for neophyte devotees, beginners in Krishna consciousness. We're all neophyte devotees. Srila Prabhupada created so many sannyasis. But actually he made a statement one time that none of them were actually prepared to be a sannyas. They weren't qualified to be sannyas, but he says that sometimes when the soldiers are in the war field, they need leaders. Each group of soldiers needs a leader. So you take one man from that group, maybe the one with the most some leadership quality, some courage, and you make him the leader because people need leaders. They may not be qualified to be a sergeant or whatever the rank is in the army, but a leader is required because it's a time of war. Srila Prabhupada said that to become Krishna conscious or to practice Krishna consciousness is a war. To declare war against the material energy, to declare war against the illusory energy, Maya. And Maya is trying to win that war. And we're trying to win that war. So many people were appointed to different positions. Sannyas, president of temple, GBC, etc., etc. Because leadership is required in any endeavor, Srila Prabhupada explains. 4 things are required. Just like in the material world, if someone starts a business, or if somebody runs a country or whatever, you need 4 things: land, labor, capital, money, and organization. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, explains in one of his essays that this organization is a necessary evil for when we're engaged in a preaching effort. What does this mean? That organization, formalization, an institution, creating an institution, creating an organization, it's a necessary evil if we're trying to arrange for a preaching mission. It means that we're conditioned souls. We're conditioned souls, and we have these 4 propensities of the conditioned soul. We make mistakes, we're in illusion, and we have a cheating propensity. We're attached to, we're in illusion. We identify with this body, this material body, this temporary vehicle, that we're moving around inside this temporary vehicle, and we're thinking this is me. We think I'm white or I'm black. We think I'm American or I'm Indian or I'm Russian or French. We identify with our gender. We identify with our family. This is my family. So, membership. So Srila Prabhupada is saying he doesn't want so many members. He wants one devotee to come out of all of this effort. So the difference between Vaidhi Bhakti, which we're all practicing, and Raganuga Bhakti is a very, very small difference. In Vaidhi Bhakti, we have all these rules and all these regulations. So many rules, so many regulations. And when a person reaches Raganuga Bhakti, one important change happens. In Vaidhi Bhakti, everything is done as a matter of duty. I have a contract between my spiritual master and myself. And my part in the contract is to fulfill my obligation, keep myself pure, keep myself clean, and engage in so many practices. But in Raganuga, one begins to do these very, very same activities. To do these very same activities, but he begins to like it. He becomes enthusiastic. He's not just dressing the deities, the pujari is not just dressed because it's his duty. He's planning, I would like to dress like this. I would like to decorate the altar like this. And he's enjoying it. That little bit of taste from the heart is the difference between Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. Just like in the Christian religion, the Christians, they don't like they don't like the Jews. I was born in a Jewish family, so-called. They had no faith in spiritual life, but they considered themselves Jews. So when Jesus was teaching, he was a Jew. The Christians don't like the Jewish faith. Jesus, he said, I didn't come to change anything. He said, all of the rules that you Jewish people have and all of the regulations that you have. I didn't come to change one letter in the alphabet even. But I came to give you the real thing, the conclusion of it. What is the bit? Just like we have a Nectar of Devotion. Big book. So many rules. Srila Prabhupada once gave a class, 1966, where he said, if you understood all the rules in this Vaishnavism, it would make you faint. Because we're Western people, we have no culture. Our culture is wine, woman, illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling. This is the rules, the regulative principles of material life on planet Earth. Intoxication, meat eating, and gambling, illicit sex. So we have so many rules. So Srila Prabhupada writes that he explained in Nectar of Devotion that actually there's only two rules. To always remember Krishna and to never forget Krishna. And to remember Kamsa, Kamsa, he was also Krishna conscious. He couldn't stop thinking about Krishna 24 hours a day, even while sleeping, taking rest at night. But his idea was how to kill Krishna. But he was Krishna conscious. So real Krishna consciousness is to think of Krishna with a desire to please Krishna. That to take pleasure in Krishna's pleasure. Going back to the baseball game. When their team is winning, when their team is scoring a point, when their team is making a home run, everybody is cheering, standing up and cheering. 10,000, 20,000 people. The stadium is exploding with enthusiastic praise and jubilation for their team. This is Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is that Krishna is our team, and Krishna is the leader, and we're cheering for Krishna. We're taking pleasure in Krishna. When in the baseball game, the individual person is not he's just a fan. He's not a real team player, but he's cheering. He's identifying, this is my team. This is the team that I cheer for. But the real one is the one who's hitting the home run. The real one is the one who's scoring the point. The real one is Srila Prabhupada's moon. The real one is the one who's learning from Srila Prabhupada how to be a real devotee. The real one. So Srila Prabhupada is looking for that. So how do we become? Are we fans? Is this my team? One person says, I'm ISKCON man. One person says, I'm Prabhupadanuga man. But the very word, Prabhupadanuga, just like Raganuga. Anuga means to follow. But what is the following? Is it following so many rules? Or is it cultivating, what is it called? It's a new kind of consciousness. It's called Krishna consciousness. Are we practicing so many rules, but not having the right consciousness exactly? That's called, there's a word Srila Prabhupada explained, niyamagraha. Niyamagraha. It means not following all the rules, but it also means following all the rules. Perfect. but missing the point. Missing the point. So what is the point of Krishna consciousness? It's a certain kind of consciousness. It's a consciousness of taking pleasure in Krishna's pleasure. Cheering when Krishna does something wonderful. If we read Krishna book, so many wonderful things Krishna is doing. Krishna he's great also. He likes sports. He plays with the cowherd boys, but they're throwing pieces of fruit. Sometimes they're teasing each other, taking each other's lunch bag and throwing it from one to another. Sometimes they're wrestling. Where does sports come from? It comes from the spiritual world. Just like Janma Diyasya Jataha. Atato Brahma Jignasa. Now that we've come, as Vedanta Sutra said, now that we've come to the human form of life, it's time to inquire into the nature of the absolute truth. What's the truth? Well, who am I? And what is my real position? What is my real identity? And the aphorism is Janma Diyasya Jataha. The nature of the absolute truth is the source from which all manifestation is coming, the source of emanation from which all manifestation is coming. That's the truth, the absolute truth. That's God. So, in the same way, so is where there's sports in this world because there's sports in the spiritual world. If there's, just like in the fridge, if we said, what, there's a big store called Walmart all over the world, and if people buy all their food at Walmart, if there's apple juice, you go to the fridge, you open the door, and there's apple juice in the fridge, in your house, in my house, in somebody's house in China, in somebody's house in Japan, somebody's house in Germany, in France, in Russia, wherever, South America, North America. If they open the door of that fridge and there's apple juice, then we know there must be apple juice at Walmart. If all the food is coming, if everything is coming from Walmart, if there's tomatoes in the fridge, it means there must be tomatoes at Walmart. If there's oranges in the fridge, there must be oranges at Walmart. In the same way, whatever exists in the material world exists in the spiritual world. We have individuality. We have senses. We have a sense of self. Yeah. This exists in the spirit. We have teams. There are teams in the spiritual world. There are different groups of gopis in the spiritual world, and they're in competition for Krishna's attention. The difference is that in the spiritual world, everything is centered around Krishna. And here we're centered around forgetfulness. We're centered around ourselves. Here, everybody, this is the material world. Everybody wants to be Krishna in their own way, big or small, according to our individual power. We want to. So if a man is more powerful than other men, he becomes a leader. He becomes even a government official. He becomes a prime minister or a president, and that's not enough either. So then he has an army and he makes war on other countries and tries to expand. Everyone's trying to be as big as they can be. This is the nature. Everyone wants to be Krishna here. So we tend to forget who is Krishna and we want to be Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada wants one moon. He wants to make one devotee. Imagine distributing millions of books and hoping that one person will become a real devotee. So this Prabhupada, how does one become? So Anuga means, Prabhupadanuga means, the one, just like Raganuga means, not following so many rules. Of course, the rules are essential. We can't live without the rules, but we have to saturate our activities with that certain consciousness, the essence of that consciousness, that we're taking pleasure in Srila Prabhupada's pleasure. We're taking pleasure in Krishna's pleasure. We're trying to understand Lord Chaitanya's pleasure. Just like Srila Rupa Goswami writes, he prays. He's benedicting us, actually. He's saying, you should have this consciousness. What is that? He says, may that Lord, and he's referring to Lord Chaitanya, may that Lord, who is appearing as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, may he be transcendentally situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. Imagine that Lord Chaitanya is dancing. He's just loving, relishing love of Krishna. May that Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendentally situated in the innermost chambers of your heart, resplendent with the radiance of molten gold. He's distributing what no other incarnation has ever offered before, freely. He's distributing this love of Krishna. That's what Srila Prabhupada is hoping, that one person can catch it. He's asking for one moon. It's called Chaitanya Chandra. They have one temple, Srila Prabhupada created in Mayapur, Sridham Mayapur, Chaitanya Chandradoya Mandir. That Lord Chaitanya is like the great moon, spreading this rays of Krishna consciousness. In the same way, Srila Prabhupada is spreading Krishna consciousness. He's also like the sun or the moon. We pray every morning. Prema Bhakti Yaha Hoite Avidya Vinashayate. That from him, from Krishna's pure devotee representative, this love of Krishna emanates from him. Krishna Prem emanates, just like from the sun. From the sun, this light emanates. Rays of light enter the material, come to every planet. And so from him, Krishna Prem emanates. And then next line, what happens? If we can catch that light, if it enters us, avidya vinashayate, our ignorance is destroyed. From him, Krishna Prem emanates. By him, our ignorance is. That's how our ignorance is destroyed. If we can catch the light, our darkness is gone. So That's how one becomes a moon. The moon, there's the sun and the moon. The sun is the source of the emanation, and the moon is reflecting. The moon is reflecting, but it has to receive before it can reflect. Just like in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 12, it says that association, the process of association is like the process of a mirror that receives and reflects. That if we really receive, then we can reflect what we receive. It says association is like a crystal stone. It reflecting what is placed before it. Crystal is shiny like a mirror, and the mirror of the heart. Srila Prabhupada says our heart is like a mirror. And it has to, if it can receive prema bhakti yahahoite, if it can receive what is emanating from the sun-like, radiant sun-like consciousness of the pure devotee, then it can reflect the same feelings of love for Krishna. There's one lecture, early lecture, 1966, where Srila Prabhupada says that the goal of life is love of God, love of Krishna. He says, but where are we going to get it? He said, if you can go to the store and purchase this love, then you should immediately go and purchase it. But where can you get it? In that lecture, he didn't answer, but he was trying to cause his students to think, where can we get this? So the answer is there in our daily prayers. Prema Bhakti from him. This Krishna Prem emanates, just like in the Bible. In the New Testament, Jesus says, I am the way and the truth and the light, and there's no way to get to the Father except through me. What is he talking about? He's explaining that if we want to become a real devotee, we have to get the devotional quality from somebody who has it. There's no other way. It's not about, he said, I didn't come to erase any of the rules in your Jewish scriptures. I didn't come to change anything. I came to tell you what it's all about. Srila Prabhupada writes, this nectar of devotion is full of so many rules, this book. But the real thing, essence, is how to be Krishna conscious in a nice way. How to have this. So how is one to get this? Where can you purchase this consciousness? Is it simply a question of rules? No, as Srila Prabhupada explains, that there's so many. He said, for those who want to, I have this quote on my computer. For those who want to mechanically completing everything perfectly, the whole checklist, all the do's and all the don'ts, do everything perfectly. He says this mechanical application there will be an automatic mitigation of the unwanted, superfluous aspects of our material nature. There will be a mitigation of the unwanted miseries of material existence. Our anxiety will go away. by mechanical application of all the principles of Krishna consciousness, there will be a mitigation of the unwanted, superfluous miseries of our material existence. But, Srila Prabhupada says, it will not serve. It will not serve to reawaken our dormant love of Krishna, even though it feels good. Because devotional life, because these activities they're not different from Krishna. Krishna is present in his name. Krishna is present in his pastimes. Krishna is present in this philosophy. Krishna is present in the 9 forms of devotional service: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vishnu, Archanam, Bandhanam, Padasevanam, Sakyam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. This process, it has the Krishna quality in it, and it relieves us of our despondency. It relieves us of our anxiety. We feel cheerful. We feel relieved. But it will not serve Srila Prabhupada. This is called niyamagraha. Niyamagraha means doing everything perfectly, but missing the point of that consciousness, that devotional consciousness. That is the quality that our heart has to absorb from the one who has that quality. Prema bhakti yaha hoite avidya vinashayate. From him, this love of Krishna emanates. And if we can catch it, the darkness in our heart becomes illuminated. The darkness in our heart becomes dissipated by the illumination. And our hearts can reflect that very. This why there's no way to the Father but through me. But it doesn't mean which team I'm on. It doesn't mean which team I'm on. It means it's what Srila Prabhupada means, that when he had so many thousands of disciples, if one can actually absorb this emanation of love of Krishna that's coming from the pure devotee and his heart, so that his heart can reflect it towards Krishna Loka, then he becomes a real devotee, and there's no other way. In other words, all of our rules and all of our activities that we're doing in Krishna consciousness, they have to come to the point where all of our activities, thoughts, words, and deeds are saturated with the rays of devotion that emanate from the pure devotee. We feel them in our heart, and we saturate our thoughts, words, and deeds with that same quality of devotion. And that's how one becomes a devotee. And that means following. That means anuga. That's the meaning of Prabhupadanuga. Not a whole bunch of people who are on a certain team. Not a whole bunch of people who are following everything perfectly. He lives forever by his divine instruction, and the follower lives with him. Some people say, but we're following everything. We're doing alpha, completing the whole checklist of rules. He says, no, that's called niyamagraha. That means missing the point. Doing everything perfectly, but missing the point. I didn't come to change anything. It's all good, but you have to add this essential aspect. And where will you get it? Can you buy it somewhere for millions of, no, you can only get love of Krishna from one who has love of Krishna. So that means we have to begin Krishna consciousness. How? We've read it and said it a million times. All of us. How do we practice? Under the guidance of a pure devotee. What else does he say? Always engaging in Krishna consciousness. How? In the association of a pure devotee. Under his guidance, under his direction, in his association, execute. But he says, but one, he lives forever by his divine instruction, and the follower lives with him. By following his instructions, we are with him. But what about the instruction that says, Prema Bhakti Yahahoite? From him, this love of Krishna emanates. And if we can catch it in our heart, our ignorance will be destroyed, and our hearts will be able to reflect that radiation. It emanates from him like heat and light emanate from the sun. This love of Krishna emanate. This is Lord Chaitanya's mercy, is coming to us through the disciplic succession. He's distributing love of Krishna. But it's not simply a list of activities that gives us love of Krishna. He's distributing love of Krishna. He's distributing his love to us. That is how Srila Prabhupada is sharing Krishna. That is how Lord Chaitanya taught Krishna. He's giving what no other avatar even ever offered before. This feeling of love of Krishna. What does Srila Prabhupada say? He writes, there's two kinds of instruction. He lives forever by his divine instruction, and the follower lives with him. But what we're talking about is also part of that instruction. To always be executing Krishna consciousness activities in the association of a pure devotee under his guidance. Srila Prabhupada calls it an apprenticeship program, working under the direction of the master. But what are we learning? We're not learning. There are so many kinds of apprenticeship programs. We're not learning how to lay bricks. We're not learning how to fix plumbing as an apprentice plumber. We're not learning how to do electrical wiring as an apprentice electrician. What are we learning from our spiritual master that we can't learn from anyone else? We're learning how to feel love for Krishna. How does it work that one learns to feel love of Krishna? Srila Prabhupada writes, Srimad Bhagavatam 1:5-25. 1:5-25. The first line in that purport, pure devotion. This feeling of devotion. He says pure devotion is infectious, but in a good sense. Because infection usually means something bad, like COVID or something, some disease. You associate with someone, you catch their disease. Could be venereal disease, sexual disease. It could be any kind of disease, but you catch it by intimate association. So Srila Prabhupada writes, pure devotion is infectious, but in a good sense, just like an infectious disease. In a bad sense, you catch it from someone who has it. He says, what does it mean to be this infection? He says, infection means to imbibe the taste of devotion. Is it right in that purport? 1.5.25 Bhagavatam. Infection means to imbibe the taste of devotion to Krishna from someone who has that taste. Okay? Therefore, we engage in Krishna consciousness under his guidance in the association of someone who has, and we become infected. The Srila Prabhupada says, what happens when you get that taste from him? In the same purpose, he says, then the desire for it, because we want the happiness. We want happiness. We want to feel fulfillment. We want to. He says, so everyone in the material world is trying to find happiness, looking for fulfillment in the wrong things, in the wrong places, in the material nature, that we're giving our affection to so many things, but material energy is dead. It can't love us back. There's no reciprocation. Therefore, even the millionaire or the billionaire, he's thinking 1 more billion, 1 more, 1 more, 1 more. So Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita that this love of Krishna, when it comes in touch with the motive passion, it becomes transformed into this desire for sense gratification. Lust, kama. Kama is really love of Krishna, but it's like light that goes through a lens. A white light going through a red lens comes out red. Going through a green lens, white light comes out. When love of Krishna goes through the mode of passion, it becomes expressed as a self-centered desire, but it's really a desire for Krishna, Krishna's association. We all want Krishna at every moment. Our every thought, word, and deed. We're actually wanting Krishna. We're actually loving Krishna, but it's being expressed in inebriated. Our every desire can only be fulfilled when it becomes focused. So Srila Prabhupada explains that as soon as we catch this, infection means to imbibe the taste of love for Krishna in the association of someone who has this love for Krishna. Pure devotion is as much infectious in a good sense as an infectious disease. Infection means to imbibe the taste of devotion. And what happens is that this taste makes material tastes unattractive. We don't care for it anymore because we're getting the real thing. Prema bhakti yahahoite avidya vinashayate. From him this taste comes, and if we can catch it, our ignorance is destroyed. Infection of the qualities of the pure devotee means that we develop a taste for Krishna conscious devotional life, and our material desires go away. Same formula. From him, Krishna, love of Krishna comes, and this way our ignorance is destroyed. From him, we get infected with spiritual desire, and our material desire goes away. Same formula. We find it everywhere. And so he says, so what he says, this is called anartha nivritti. That this is when we're becoming purified, that our material desire is going away because we're developing in proportion how we're developing our spiritual desire, our material desire is going away. He says, then one can become steady, Srila Prabhupada writes in the same purport. 1.5.25. One becomes steady. And then he says, one will actually begin to have spiritual feelings. And at last, one will be situated on the plane of love of Krishna. Prema bhakti yaha hoite avidya vinashayante. From him this love comes, and this, if we can catch it, become infected, our ignorance is destroyed. So he's looking for one moon. Srila Prabhupada is looking for one moon. The moon is reflecting the light of the sun. The pure devotee is Krishna's sunshine coming to us in the material world. And if we can catch his emanation, from him, Krishna Prem emanate, and reflect it from our heart, we become the moon that reflects the sun. So it's all over our books. Well, we're talking about connecting the dots. In so many metaphors is explained that our heart is like a mirror, that we have to become like a moon that reflects the light of the sun, that we have to become infected with the qualities of the pure devotee. And in this way, our ignorance is destroyed. But he lives forever by his divine instruction, and the follower lives with him. So these are the instructions also. This is the cream of instruction. This is the essence of instruction. Otherwise, Srila Prabhupada says, niyamagraha, doing everything right but missing the point. Why are they doing everything right but missing the point? Because they don't understand the process. The process is to become infected. They're thinking that if I do everything correctly, one day the bolt of lightning comes from the spiritual world, and then I will have realization. And when I have realization, then I'll have joyful enthusiasm. Brahmabhuta prasanatma, joyful enthusiasm. Krishna says without being joyful, it's not possible to be a devotee. He says that when you become joyful, your heart becomes filled with joy. Na sochati na kankshati, your desires and your lamentations will automatically be gone. And you'll, instead of being envious of everybody, you'll have love for all living beings. As soon as there's joy in the heart, there's love. Krishna said, Madhbhak, samasarveshu, but you'll see the beauty in everyone. As soon as you feel fulfillment within yourself, and madbhaktim labhate, param, now you can become a devotee, Krishna says. When you become joyful in your heart, you can become, where will that joyfulness come? There's a lengthy process by cultivating the mode of goodness. It's explained 1851 to 53 in Bhagavad Gita, very lengthy process. Shortcut, associate with someone who has it and become infected with their quality of devotion. My bhaktim labhate param, he is love of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada is the personification of love of Krishna, and he's teaching us from within the heart. By association, become infected with this heart disease called love of God. Become mad. Yeah. So these are, he lives forever by his divine instruction, and the follower lives. He wants that follower who is learning how to become a devotee, learning how to love Krishna under the guidance in the association of the pure devotee who has that love that our hearts become. That means we have to always learn to live in his association. The lotus feet of our spiritual master is the only way by which we can acquire this pure devotional service. It's only by the principle of I am the way, the truth, and the light. There's no way to reach the Father, or no way to reach Krishna except through Krishna's pure devotee. Not simply by following rules niyamagraha, but by learning from him what is love of God by association. Become infected. And that infection, then just like you get one little germ, somebody sneezes, and then that germ pervades your whole body. It is in the same way we catch this taste of devotion from Srila Prabhupada, then our hearts become saturated gradually. There's nothing but. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta writes in one essay that, the spiritual master is the external manifestation of the all-pervasive supersoul. How can a jiva soul, an individual spiritual, a confidential associate of the Supreme Lord, he can be as powerful as Krishna himself. He can extend himself so that he can have a personal relationship with all the living entities in the entire universe. Jagat Guru, the spiritual master of the universe. He's empowered to do that. He's a form of Krishna in that sense. He's called an avatar, Shakti Avesh avatar. He's not, therefore Srila Prabhupada warns us again and again not to think of him like he's an ordinary human being. Not to see him that way, but to understand that Krishna, just like when the deity is installed in the temple, by the authorized empowered acharya asks Krishna to come into that form and receive everyone's worship. In the same way, the being of the Krishna's personal associate, a selected, chosen personal associate of Lord Chaitanya or Lord Krishna and the eternals, is empowered to play the role of the all-pervasive supersoul. He's the external manifestation of the Lord in the heart. We're not in touch with the Lord in our heart, so he appears before us. He's the external manifestation of the all-pervasive supersoul. He can receive our devotion and our love, not just from me, not just from you, but from all the beings and entities in the universe simultaneously. And he can share his heart with all of us simultaneously, but he knows that it's very few are capable to even understand this. So he says, if all these books are distributed, thousands and millions of them, if one becomes a real devotee, I'll consider this whole preaching attempt a success. He understands how slow we are to catch it, but he's looking for one. He wants each of us to become that one. And there's no other way to become that one. The only way is to have an intimate association with him, to feel his presence. As soon as we can learn how to open our heart to him, we can feel his love. We can feel his presence, and we become transformed. Just like if you put your finger in an electric socket, your whole body becomes surcharged with that power. So this is the meaning of Prabhupadanuga. This is the following, the kind of following. So Srila Prabhupada says, when one becomes infected, he says, then he gets the taste of devotion, and then his unwanted desires go away, and then he has spiritual emotions, and he becomes steady, and then at last he is on the plane of love of Krishna, pure devotion. And all of these stages, the last sentence in 1:5:25, all of these different stages go forward when one cultivates living in the heartfelt association of a pure devotee. We become infected. It rubs off on us. From him, this love of God emanates. And if we catch it, our ignorance is destroyed. Our heart is just like a mirror. Srila Prabhupada said, if the mirror is clean, it will reflect what is placed before it. And this way one becomes a devotee by association. So we have to begin to cultivate. And this is the meaning of Prabhupadanuga. The one moon, here's the Prabhupadanuga. Here's the following. He lives forever by his instruction, and the follower lives with him. We're talking about the essence of those instructions, not the checklist. The checklist has been in Raganuga, Bhakti, and Vaidhi. All the same rules are followed, but now the taste is added. But where will the taste come from? All the same rules are followed. Nothing is deleted, but the other, without having that infection of feeling how to live as an understudy, as an apprentice bhakta, is called niyam agraha, doing everything perfectly and missing the point. So the real Prabhupadanuga is the one who is getting the point, this point, and applying this point. The first thing is to understand our philosophy is not a mechanical process. It's not a mechanical process. It's a process in which one imbibes the taste of devotion in the association of a pure devotee who is the way and the truth and the light. Him, this love comes, and there's and taking shelter of his lotus feet is the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. Therefore, we bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. In this way, our ignorance is destroyed. So, first step is to understand that this is the essential requirement, the essential needed thing. Then this is what being an anuga and a Prabhupada means. So we all, ISKCON, not ISKCON, a man in the street, a man in Timbuktu. A person can have receive a Bhagavad Gita, read these books. Where in Srila Prabhupada says, if one person actually understands this, all of these books, the whole business is a success. A person can receive this Bhagavad Gita, and in one day, he can be more advanced than all of us. All of us. It's just a question of how much we open our heart to Srila Prabhupada, to his presence. He's as good as the all-pervasive super soul. That's what Srila Vyasadeva says to Narada Muni in the first canto. Your goodness is just as powerful and just as great as the all-pervasive supersoul. Please find out what's missing inside me and tell me, help me how to have it. It's relating to a spiritual master. So first let us understand the process of Krishna consciousness, that it's not the cultivation of niyamagraha, it's not the cultivation of the perfect checklist, it's the cultivation of a living relationship with someone who has love of God, who has come simply from the spiritual world, Krishna's personal, confidential associate, who's the only one who can give. It's not a question of having a title, Guru Shmuru. It's not a question of being appointed by by some board of directors or whatever, GBC. You can't vote and make somebody have these qualities. He has to come from this Shakti Avesh avatar. He's a form of, he's the form of Krishna in the form of love of Krishna. There's two Krishnas. There's the Krishna, the Supreme Lord and Master, and there's the Krishna, form of Krishna, Krishna's part and parcel. That is the servant aspect, because the service, that devotional energy is also part of Krishna. It comes from Krishna. We come from Krishna. We're also Krishna, but we're the servant part of Krishna. We have to associate with the servant part of Krishna and imbibe from him the taste of love of Krishna. Then we become our Krishna's part and parcel again. We're always part and parcel, but we're blind to it. We're looking for it in the material world. So this is Prabhupadanuga. Anyone can be Prabhupadanuga. Even Srila Prabhupada said that the initiation ceremony, that's his, he says, I give my touch. That I thought it's a ceremony, but it's not like now you have a title or I'm a Prabhupadanuga. Srila Prabhupada said initiation means to form a living relationship with someone who has Krishna always in their heart, and to the cultivation of a heart-to-heart relationship with such a person who has Krishna always in their heart, and that way you get Krishna always in your heart. This is the 10th canto purport. This is what Diksha means, Srila Prabhupada says. It means the formation of a heart-to-heart relationship with someone who has Krishna always in their heart. And that way you develop love of, and this is Diksha. In the 1.5.25 says, Srila Prabhupada writes, the neophyte devotee becomes enriched with the devotional qualities of the pure devotee. The neophyte. Diksha, to have a heart-to-heart relationship, to begin. Initiate means to begin. To begin to this cultivation of a living relationship with someone who has love of Krishna and become infected with their qualities, so our heart, like a mirror, can reflect the light of devotion coming from him, and that light goes towards Krishna. It reflects from our heart up to the spiritual world, to Krishna. Loving Krishna under the guidance of Krishna's pure devotee. This is Prabhupadanuga. It's not a question of which team I'm on or which team I'm cheering from. Anybody can become a Prabhupadanuga. But Srila Prabhupada says, out of all of these books, if one person becomes a Prabhupadanuga, I'll consider the whole attempt a success. So we have to become very intelligent. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Ishan Prabhu, thank you so much again, as usual, for a wonderful, wonderful, completely Prabhupada engrossed class and talk. Are you okay? You have time for a question?
Yes, sir.
Just run with me with this, and I want to give a parallel with a mundane relationship with a woman, like to get married, and your own experience in Krishna consciousness, because I just want to become clear on it. I'm missing a little bit. So, for example, at the beginning, I joined Krishna consciousness, and I have absolutely no feelings for Krishna, no feelings for Prabhupada, and probably not much respect, maybe a little bit, for any of them. So that resembles like a little bit of the beginning of a relationship when my father says, okay, this is your wife. You don't know her. It's arranged marriage. And boom, here she is. Okay. And the wife jumps and says, hey, do you love me? I say, no. When are you going to love me? I have no idea. Okay, hopefully that will come in time as we spend time together. So in the process of Krishna consciousness that let's say most of us experience, we join by being convinced that this is the right way by Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada's words, by Prabhupada actually. So then we join, but we have no feelings. We have actually, well, we have something, but we don't have love, attachment, affection for Prabhupada. I definitely didn't. So at that time, I accept the process as the bona fide process, and I start to wake up early, sleep early, follow Mangalari, chant my rounds, worship the deities, go out on books, do all these things that Prabhupada said he would like us to do for him, even though I have no feelings. So I guess there's some kind of reciprocation from Prabhupada there, feeling that, great, this is wonderful. This little son of mine is doing something, is serving me, he's pleasing me, is pleasing the mission, blah, blah. But throughout that time, let's say, and now I'm reflecting it to you in your life in Krishna consciousness. So during that time, you're performing niyamagraha is the word you use, but you said niyamagraha means following the process perfectly. It means chanting everything, worshiping perfectly, but missing the point. But my question at this point is, why can't you be following the whole process? And I don't want to say missing the point, of course, some people, but the point hasn't arisen yet. The love and affection hasn't arisen. That could be one, or the other one can be that they're just following a process and have no interest in actually, okay, this is my wife, and I don't have loving feelings for her. I don't love her yet, but it's my duty to serve her. But I want it to awaken. I want love to awaken. She wants love to awaken, and I want love to awaken. So that is following with not missing the point, but waiting for it to happen. So in that time, the question for you is, when did this, because obviously you have it, you're experiencing it. We are not that stupid that we can understand that you have it, otherwise you wouldn't be speaking about it and you wouldn't be pointing it out. So that's clear that you have some deep affection, awakening, love for Prabhupada. Otherwise you would not. And that's why most people don't talk about this topic, because they don't have it. So you have it, but when did it awaken? Is it, I mean, my logically said,
Okay.
yeah,
So
sorry.
so it's not so much that I have it, it's that I want it. And it's not so much that, like you were saying, we're doing all these activities. When you associate with someone who has COVID, it's not that you have to follow all their rules to get COVID. You get infected with it, whether you want it or not. simply by associating with a pure devotee intimately. Srila Prabhupada uses this word intimate. Sometimes he uses the word thick, a very thick relationship. Sometimes he uses the word intimate, thick. I forget there's a third word he uses. But the
just
idea,
at this point, for the audience, can we get clarification? Because what does that mean, intimate association, in your direct experience
all
with
right,
Prabhupada?
so this is why we have to come to the mode of goodness. This is why Krishna says that when he says, you can love me. Brahma bhuta prasanatma na sochati na kankshati samasarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. Mad bhakti means now you can love me. Now you have the ability to love me. What is that makes one able to love? When their heart is stopping having all these self-centered aspirations and desires, so that one is hankering and lamenting over loss and hankering after gain of something. What enables, he says, first your heart has to be empty of all this junk, this material orientation. What empties it? Brahma prasanatma, that when one's heart is filled with joyfulness, Krishna says, then one becomes able to love. As soon as the heart is joyful, doesn't Srila Prabhupada, what does Srila Prabhupada say? You can base a whole lecture on it or a book on it. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. He's not saying if you chant Hare Krishna for 10 years or 10 births, you'll become happy. It's a direct instruction. His words are chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Why? Because when one has happiness within the heart, no matter what they look at or who they look at or what they think about or who they think about, when there's happiness in the heart, love automatically flows towards that. The only difference is, under the guidance of a pure devotee, he's explaining to us that our love is actually meant for Krishna, and Krishna's pure devotee. If the heart is sanctified with joyfulness, simply as soon as we bring Srila Prabhupada into our consciousness, the love flows towards him. If the heart is full of joyfulness, no matter what you think about, your love flows towards that being. It's instead of it being a self-centered heart, which has hankering and lamentation, which are all self-centered processes, it's called prasanatma, called joyfulness of the heart. Krishna says, when you can be like, then you develop the ability to be loving. Brahmabhuta prasanatma, when you become joyful within your heart, mad bhaktim labhate param, now you can love me. It's a very subtle thing that anyone can make the experiment to cultivate joy. It's not artificial. This consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind, quote unquote. Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind. It's our real consciousness. We have to understand that it is so and accept it. Krishna, quote, Krishna consciousness is only a question of understanding and accepting, unquote. Quote, one can be Krishna conscious in a second. quote unquote. Quote, Krishna consciousness is simple for the simple, quote unquote. It means that it simply but then why do we practice the mode of goodness? A person who becomes a pure devotee is already in the mode of goodness. Srila Prabhupada says, but unless we come to that platform, we can't become a devotee. So what is it about the mode of goodness that's so most important? The most important thing about the mode of goodness is that in goodness, the heart becomes joyful. 1851 to 53 is all the activities that one has to perform in order to come to the joyfulness platform of Prasanatma, 1854. Then as soon as one becomes, so try this as an experiment. Then you can do it in a second. Sit in front of a beautiful picture of Srila Prabhupada, where he's just glowing with feelings of love for all of us and for Krishna. And practice, and so he says that utsahan, enthusiasm. Srila Rupa Goswami says one has to have enthusiasm, one has to have confidence, which means that confidence that this is a real process, that Krishna is real and I'm his servant. That's what confidence means. So if one has enthusiasm, joyful enthusiasm and confidence and faith, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati writes in Brahma Samhita that our realization is proportionate to our faith. So the faith means to understand and accept that this is real. Krishna quote is only a question of understanding and accepting. Accepting means to adopt this mood of joyful enthusiasm. So people say, when I have realization, by doing this process mechanically for 100 years, then when I have realization, I'll have joyful enthusiasm when I have this realization. Wrong! When I have joyful enthusiasm, then I'll have realization. Because having joyful enthusiasm means I've accepted the reality of it. Not when I have realization, then I'll be joyful. No, when I'm joyful, I'll have realization because that's the acceptance. It's not intellectual acceptance, it's heartfelt acceptance. And that's called a leap of faith. And anyone can do it in a second and immediately taste the reality of it. That as much as we open our heart, we've sensed reciprocation. What is that called? It's called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. It says that when there's devotion, there's a nectar in the heart, a sweetness in the heart. It's called the nectar of devotion. But you can't taste the nectar without the devotion. They're inseparable. So he says, when the devotion is there, the nectar will be there automatically. And one can have that in a second. It's only a matter of so what is it we have to accept? We have to understand and accept that joyful enthusiasm is our real nature. And try it on for size. Go to the store and you buy a coat or a hat or a pair of underwear. You try it on for size and you see if it fits. Try on joyful enthusiasm when we're chanting Hare Krishna for the pleasure of our spiritual master. Try to garland Srila Prabhupada with the sound vibration of the holy name with total conviction that he loves it. and I'm doing it to please him. And overcome our, Srila Prabhupada once asked, do you have any doubts? Are there any doubts? Are there any doubts? In his presence, it was difficult to have doubts, of course, because his Krishna consciousness is so powerful. So we have to approach Srila Prabhupada with joyful enthusiasm, and we'll immediately, proportionately feel his presence. He'll share his Krishna consciousness with us. And then we'll saturate our activities with what we're learning from him, imbibing from him. And then we'll know that imbibing that taste from him is associating with him. Imbibing that from him is engaging Krishna consciousness under his guidance. Imbibing that exuberance, that enthusiasm, that joyfulness in Krishna consciousness is practicing Krishna consciousness in the association of a pure devotee. So the thing that unlocks the door, that opens the door to feeling his presence, is to approach him with a heart that's filled with joyful enthusiasm. And anyone can do it in a second, quote unquote. And then the taste is immediately there. One can be a devotee in his first day of receiving a Bhagavad Gita. It's only, quote, a matter of understanding and accepting. So acceptance is not intellectual acceptance. Acceptance is acceptance of the heart, of the reality. Utsahan. So then it's trying this mood on for size. It's called a leap of faith because you don't have the experience yet, but you're accepting it as if it is a reality. And to the extent that we do, we see that, oh, it is. It's a science. In the science, and they go into the laboratory. When I went to university, there was a oxygen and hydrogen combined makes water. 2 parts H2O, two atoms of hydrogen, 1 atom H2O, 1 atom of oxygen. You combine them. You don't know it. You don't taste it. But there's a hypothesis. And then there's a procedure. And you do it in the laboratory and you make water and then so there's a Krishna consciousness. The science means that if you understand the philosophy or the theory, but you have to apply it and you immediately get the nectar. As soon as the devotion is there, you taste the nectar of devotion. Then you know it's real. Therefore, in Tadbidi Pranipatena, just approach a spiritual master, inquire for him submissively, what is this feeling? What is this love of God? Inquire and be submissive enough to be able to get the taste, imbibe the taste. He said, so he says, blind following and absurd questions is useless. It's in there, 434. But the real question is, how can what is this love? So I have to become infected by someone who has it. But we have to open the door of our heart to him. And it's not a question of being an old devotee, new devotee. Nobody's a senior. We're all conditioned souls. We're all neophytes. We're all beginners. There's no senior devotees. There are no senior devotees. There's only one senior devotee. Srila Prabhupada is the senior devotee, and the rest of us are his little children. The ones who were the closest to Srila Prabhupada, the ones who were talking with him every day, the ones who were even eating prasadam with Srila Prabhupada, the closest so-called physically associating with him, day after day after day became the biggest offenders. It's not about when and where. It's transcendental means time and place are irrelevant. Transcendental means that now my wife is telling me time, she's saying cut off. Haha. It's way over an hour. Oh, okay. I have other duties to perform. So, no, it's realistic. But what I want to say is somehow what opens the door, the WD-40 that that makes those hinges move without a squeak.
Yeah.
How much we approach Srila Prabhupada with joyful enthusiasm, to that degree we'll feel his presence. It's not that by doing this one day I'll have that when I'm realized, then I'll have joyful enthusiasm. Wrong. When I have joyful enthusiasm, I'll have realization. Right. It's backwards. It's being taught backwards. It's being taught backwards in ISKCON. It's being taught backwards amongst Prabhupadanugas. It's being taught backwards. It's not when I have realization that then I'll become joyfully enthusiastic. It's when I become joyfully enthusiastic that I will have realization in the moment. Krishna consciousness is only a matter of understanding and accepting. Joyful enthusiasm is the measure of our acceptance. That's right. And one can do it in a second. It's simple for the simple.
Can you just, before you go, because I know your wife is calling you, can you just give us a brief on your own timeline when you joined Krishna consciousness? Were you following mechanically? Were you just following duty? And when did, let's say, love of Prabhupada kick in?
Well, the point is, I used to chant so loud at japa in the temple that devotees would make me go outside. In more than one temple, they would make me go away from the temple because I chanted so loud. So I was thinking that if I do this process really strongly, one day I'll have the bolt of lightning will come from Krishna Loka. I'll have realization. I always knew that I had this intuition that I had to be close to Srila Prabhupada and feel his presence, but I wasn't having it. But somewhere along the line, it became Krishna and Tadbidi. No, there's 10:10.
Yes,
Um,
those who serve me with devotional service, I give them the knowledge by which they can come to me.
And Srila Prabhupada says, even if you don't understand the philosophy, if the desire, Krishna gives you some intelligence from within the heart.
Yeah.
Priti Purvakam,
I
Dadami
think it's the
Buddhiyo.
next text. I think it's 10:11. It says that.
No, it's 10:10.
No,
But
no, no. 10:10 says the first part, and then in 10:11, I think it says, even if you don't understand, Krishna will relate to you.
So the point is that somehow it's not that I developed something. It's that Krishna showed me that I usually live in the dark and that I have to learn how to love. It's bhakti yoga. Yoga means link or connection, but the connection is through the medium of love. And my heart was always so closed. Where all our hearts are closed. Why? Because life is so painful in the material world. So in order to protect ourselves, there are people in prisons, they can't feel anything. That's why they can be so criminal. They cannot feel. It's other people's heart because of the way they grew up. Their hearts are closed and they don't, for them, they think everyone, wherever they're at, on this spectrum of how open or closed the heart is, they're thinking, they don't know that there's other possibilities. There's so many songs. Everybody loves a lover. I'm a lover. Everybody loves me. Anyway, that's how I feel. Wow, I feel just like a Pollyanna. What me? There's another song. Grab your coat and get your hat. Leave your worries on the doorstep. Just direct your feet to the sunny side of the street. Another mother told me something that a little girl should know. It's all about the devil, and I learned to hate him so. The chorus. So let the sun shine in. Face it with a grin. Frown, smilers never lose, and frowners never win. So let the sun shine in. How to open our hearts. As soon as we open our hearts, then a person who has love in their heart, what does Krishna say? That you feel, then you fall in love with the whole world. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, you become joyful in the heart. What's the next step? Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu. You see the beauty in all living beings. Every life becomes beautiful. What does Srila Prabhupada say? What is that? I'm thinking it's a Vedic aphorism. It says, no, I can't think of it now, but it means that Jagat, something.
Atmavan manyate jagat.
Atmavan, that we see the world in terms of the condition of our heart. We see everybody, everything. A person who has joy in their heart sees the beauty in everything, but our hearts are closed. That's why the whole essence of the mode of goodness is to bring a person to that platform where the heart is clean enough to start to have joyful feelings. And then whatever you think of, the love goes there. It can be a piece of stone. It can be a piece of nature. But if it's Srila Prabhupada, the love goes there. Our heart has to learn how to open the heart. That's why a Brahmin, quote, a Brahmin can become a Vaishnava. Because he already has this love for everyone and everything. A real Brahmin, what's his quality? Is that he has this beauty in his heart. And learned that he sees equally a dog eater, an elephant, a sage, etc. Or Samasarveshu Bhuteshu, sees the beauty in all living beings. Or Samodamota Pashocham, first quality of the Brahmin, had peace in his heart, peaceful feeling. First quality of the Brahmin, 17, he said 17, 15, 16, and 17. Mana prasada, feeling great serenity within the heart. Krishna says, you can do this for me because I like it. I want you to be this way. Why does Krishna worship the Brahmins? Because only a Brahmin who has this kind of heart can Mad Bhaktim Labhate Paramike. Now you can become my devotee. As soon as we're joyful within the heart and we take up Krishna consciousness in that way, the love will flow.
It's over 2 hours.
Okay, I got my notice. Sorry. But
Ding, ding.
but
Bell.
it's not, anyone can make this experiment, get a little taste. We won't be able to maintain it. We have our habitual way of thinking about things, thinking about what does it mean, hankering and lamenting. Hankering means if I can attain this or get this, I'll be happy. That's living in the future. Lamenting means if only the past was different, I'd be happy now. That's living in the past. Krishna is telling us we have to live in the present moment. And how can one live in the present moment? Why is the heart looking in the future and the past? Because it's looking for happiness. So as soon as one becomes Brahma prasanna, joyful within the heart, they can let go of the future and the past because they're already there. Everything we're looking for. He says, then you can. So a person who's looking in the future and the past, he can't find Krishna because he's in material time. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, forget the past that sleeps, and there the future, dream it all. But be in times that are with thee, and progress you shall call. You will have to live in the present. How can in the present moment? As soon as one's joyful within the heart, they're in the present moment. There's nothing to look for. And then the heart is capable of love. It's fulfilled. Then it has something to share. It's not on empty, looking, searching in the past and the future. It's the, okay, I got my final notice. Try it on for size. It's anybody can, a child can do it, but a big brain can't. A child can do this, but a big intellectual can't. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your wonderful time.
We're going to talk some more.
Ramchandra Prabhu, thank you for joining us. I hope we haven't made you late for work.
No, I still got 2 hours to go. So.
Oh, okay. You're an early bird. Get ready early. Okay. Thank you so much for facilitating us and allowing us to have this.
Try.
Great.
Hare Krishna.
See you all soon. Take care. Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Glory to Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.